Hey guys, welcome back. Took a bit of a break because I was out traveling in places where we didn't have good internet, so we couldn't record. Hopefully, you all have been watching our shorts and have gone back to some of our old podcasts. We thought maybe shorter videos and things that we've already spoken about might help enhance our audience thanks to that. So, we're back with a bit of news. There's a lot to talk about. There's some surging oil prices, inflation numbers, job numbers. The Earth's atmosphere has found a way to clean itself while ice sheets are melting faster than expected. So there's a lot of good and there's some not so good. So yeah, let's talk about some news.
Welcome to the Thought Bistro podcast with Akhil and Vishruth. We bring you some weekly news, review books, and view the world with a different lens. Our mission is to provide a platform to explore different ideas with different perspectives and allow the listeners to develop a deeper understanding. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC, recently announced that they'll be cutting down on the amount of oil they'll be producing. And when they did so, of course, the oil prices across the world spiked. Some places, the benchmark actually rose by 7%. This can either be seen as devastating for a lot of us who are traveling, or for countries where energy is very, very oil dependent. It might actually force countries to get off their oil dependence and get off some of the dependence that we have on these countries. Countries include Saudi Arabia, Russia, and numerous other oil producing countries. We all know the names. Usually they're on the tips of our fingers.
They announced that they were going to cut production by more than 1.2 million barrels of crude oil per day, which is more than 1% of world supplies. And this has been done in an effort to increase prices. Economics 101 again, you reduce supply, demand stays the same, so prices will go up.
This is actually pretty weird because the oil prices are not that far from where they were around 3-4 years ago. What happened is during COVID, the oil prices really bounced and they really started picking up. And after this Russian invasion, we've all known gas price to be really damaging to our wallets. And now that oil was again, it was all subsiding and the oil prices have started normalizing. They announced such a news, and again, we realize how dependent we are on these countries regarding their oil.
Yeah, dude, I remember during COVID, there was a point where there was a storage crisis or something like that. In the US, oil futures, you were being paid money to buy oil futures. They were at like negative $30 for some, or something like that. It was some crazy number. I can't remember the exact figure, but it was in the negatives, so where you were paid to buy oil futures.
The world was sitting in their houses. Nobody was flying. Nobody was driving around. Electricity consumption was pretty high, but electricity is produced by numerous other resources as well. Electrical vehicles started picking up because they've not had a damaging effect on the oil production as of yet, but they might in the future with, as we discussed, Europe announces by 2035, all vehicles sold should be electric. And by 2030, at least all of them should be hybrid. So yes, let's see how this develops. Could be very interesting to follow. In some other news, employers added 236,000 jobs in March in the US, and it was still steady job growth. Again, the scary part of Powell just keeps holding the bell on top of our heads as to what he'll do next.
Job numbers yet again are moving contrary to what is expected. You would expect unemployment to rise. You would expect the number of jobs added to go down, not up. But well, as we have been seeing and as we have been pointing out in the past few months, job numbers are steadily on the rise.
The caveat to this news, however, is that the March employment data was collected before the collapse of the two mid-sized banks, which we have an episode on one of them, SVB Bank, and the other one was Signature Bank. April numbers might reveal something more. Let's see how the Fed reacts.
Speaking of job numbers, inflation data also came in. A reading of the Consumer Price Index, or CPI, on Wednesday, 5th of April showed a continued downward trend for inflation. And in addition to this, world food prices fall for the 12th month running in March, according to the FAO, or the Food and Agriculture Organization.
The food prices are down 20.5% since they hit a record high 1 year ago during Russia's invasion of Ukraine. This is very positive news for everybody around the world, that logistics are calming down in prices. We actually have some export-import involvement, and in that we realized that overseas shipping has actually crashed in prices a lot. This is not part of the news this week. This is just part of the news as it is happening. Like you can take my word for it. But yes, food prices down 20.5% from a record high. The FAO, or the Food and Agriculture Organization's price index, which tracks the most globally traded food commodities, averaged 126.9 points last month against 129.7 for February, the agency said on Friday. Friday would be April 7th.
This was the lowest reading since July 2021. So the reading for February was originally given at 129.8, which was adjusted later to 129.7. The FAO cereal price index fell 5.6% month on month in March, with wheat registering a 7.1% drop, maize a 4.6% drop, and rice easing 3.2%. Vegetable oils fell 3%, and they were down 47.7% on the level the index hit in March 2022, while the dairy index was down 0.8%.
I'm amazed it doesn't mention eggs. I was really looking forward to knowing more about egg prices.
As you recall, we spoke about some egg prices inflation in our bonus inflation episode. So go check that out. Though the numbers might be a little dated now, but yeah.
Maximo Torero, FAO's chief economist, said that while prices dropped at the global level, they are still very high and continue to increase in domestic markets, posing additional challenges to food security. It might be a little fear on his end, or it might just be, let's not get very giddy about this stuff and let's just keep our expectations low.
I think what's happened is that a lot of the food stuff that was exported from Ukraine, I remember wheat being one of the major ones. People were like, the supply of wheat is going to be majorly hit because Ukraine was a big supplier of wheat. I think the world market has covered that, and the supply that we are missing from Ukraine has been covered up to a fair extent, where the world wheat production in 2023 has now been pegged at 786 million tons, 1.3% below the 2022 level, but that makes it the second largest outturn on record.
Similarly, world's rice production was down 1.6% below the 21-22 harvest. Still, the numbers are very promising since they are on the higher end, and you would expect them to be on the higher end. On an engineering basis, we are always getting better and better on front of agriculture. Even when you watch Shark Tank, you get to know some of these agricultural magic, let's say, that some of these companies are doing in order to increase harvest per land available.
In other news, Walmart is suing Capital One Financial, seeking to terminate the two companies' credit card partnership. Walmart's lawsuit alleges that Capital One didn't meet certain terms of the credit card partnership contract. The case was filed in the Southern District of New York. Walmart alleged that Capital One didn't provide the customer service it was obligated to offer, such as replacing lost cards promptly. It also alleged Capital One didn't promptly post some transactions and payments to cardholders' accounts. I mean, those are big allegations, dude. Imagine losing your card and not having a replacement with you in the next, whatever week. That's a lot of people's singular method of payment, and without UPI and things like that being there in the US, I can understand how not having a card can prove to be a serious handicap.
Let's talk about the other side then. Capital One is saying that they've had this contract in place since 2019 and have been issuing credit cards on Walmart's behalf. The contract extends to 2026. Capital One claims that Walmart just wants to get out of this contract without having to pay any kind of fees to get out of this contract. And in court, they are going to be fighting, quote unquote, vigorously to protect our contractual rights. This is going to be a bout of beliefs. Do you believe that Walmart's claims are true? Or do you believe Walmart took some of the tail events or some of the very uncommon events and made it to be the factual reality just to get out of this contract? Because Walmart might be trying to become its own bank, just as Starbucks is. There's a very interesting video on Starbucks is its own bank. Do check it out. It's on YouTube. I'll link it in the description.
So Walmart doesn't seem to be doing this for the first time. In fact, before Capital One, they were partnered with Synchrony Financial for about 20 years. And when they decided to ditch Synchrony in 2018, Walmart sued Synchrony, alleging that it was being financially harmed by Synchrony's underwriting needs. This lawsuit was dismissed mutually after Synchrony disputed the claim. Is Walmart trying to pull something similar here?
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. Well.
We'll see how this story develops and see what else we can read up about this. Maybe do an entire episode on this one.
Continuing on the banking front, Binance is unable to find a banking partner in the US. And since banking collapse, again, quote-unquote collapse, is happening in the US, the cryptocurrency exchange Binance is struggling to find a bank to handle its customers' cash.
Binance was one of the companies that used Signature Bank for its deposits, according to the Wall Street Journal, as well as Silvergate Capital Corp. And both these institutions have failed in the last month, sending the exchange looking for a new banking partner.
Those of you who might be unaware, Binance is a crypto exchange platform on which you can buy cryptocurrencies, sell cryptocurrencies, or you can trade them, you can hand them over to another person, you can create a wallet, you can forget your password, and then lose all of your crypto money in one go without anybody taking liability for that. That was a joke. But yes, so Binance is one of these platforms, and cryptocurrencies have not been having a very nice time under the light. Let's see how this one develops as well, because banking, crypto, hand in hand, everything just going bonkers.
The crypto winter continues. And last month, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission sued Binance, alleging that the exchange operated illegally in the US and violated rules designed to prevent illicit financial activity. So since this, investors have pulled $1.6 billion from Binance, and they say that the company, as well as its founder, CZ or Changpeng Zhao, are willfully skirting US law.
I feel like some bad players do put crypto in a very bad light, and we are due an episode on crypto and blockchain and what it really is, rather than everybody just thinking it is something that goes up, goes down, and goes round and round in circles.
How about we just do that next?
Let me call up Hemel and ask him if he's free.
Yeah, sounds good. So moving on to some better news. Scientists discover a way Earth's atmosphere cleans itself. So much talk about pollution and global warming. Why not look at something positive? There is a molecule called hydroxide, the chemical sign being OH. And this is available pretty naturally in the environment. So this particular molecule is finding a way to reshape how scientists understand how the air clears itself of things like human-emitted pollutants or greenhouse gases. So OH can react and eliminate these pollutants. So basically you need OH to oxidize hydrocarbons, otherwise they would build up in the atmosphere indefinitely, said scientist Sergei Nizhgorodov of the University of California, Irvine, who is a professor of chemistry. Another professor, Christian George, who is an atmospheric chemist at the University of Lyon in France, says that OH is a key player in the story of atmospheric chemistry. It initiates the reactions that can break down airborne pollutants and helps remove noxious chemicals such as sulfur dioxide and nitric oxide, which are poisonous gases from the atmosphere.
So I was watching this video on YouTube of Neil deGrasse Tyson, and somebody mentions we need to save Earth and we need to protect Earth. He says we keep saying we need to save Earth, we need to save planet Earth, we are destroying planet Earth. We are not destroying planet Earth, right? We are destroying ourselves. And even if all of us die and everything is over, Earth will continue to live. This is more of a sign that Earth will just heal itself later. In the meantime, it can just clear itself of all of these vermin we call human beings just roaming around on its surface. So but this is very positive news.
I remember this discussion we had when COVID started, and we were like, how when a cancer cell attacks an organism, and we drew parallels to human beings being the cancer cells to Earth and the universe. That theory just keeps ringing back at me again and again and again. Every time we see these human-emitted destructive forces that are there in the world and what they've been doing to nature.
Man, there's this lovely scene in Matrix in which Agent Smith, the main villain, is sitting with Morpheus. He tells Morpheus that, humans They go to different places and they reproduce. They use up the resources, then they move forward into the next place and they reproduce and they use up the resources. So he compares humans to parasites, Being human, it is a very negative connotation to everything. However, it is one way to put it. But improving on our parasitical behavior, there is a new kind of battery that might be at play.
Battery news of the week. Ding, 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 ding. So, batteries in Tesla connect yet again. Elon Musk has championed on the lithium iron phosphate or LFP battery that's been dominated by Chinese suppliers, saying that the majority of heavy lifting for electrification will be on iron-based cells. He says these batteries will be used in the short-range heavy electric trucks, which he calls the semi-light, without providing much detail on when these are supposed to be launched. But Tesla started to deliver its semi-electric trucks with a longer 500-mile driving range per charge, which use nickel-based batteries. And Tesla had previously said that it would launch a 300-mile range version, which we assume would be using these LFP batteries. So LFP batteries are very interesting in that they are a direct competitor to lithium-ion batteries. The main advantage of LFPs being that they're less prone to combustion and thermal runaway, which make them better for home use. They also have a longer life cycle, which means they have about 5 times the amount of life in them as compared to lithium-ion batteries.
I think battery tech evolving every news episode is so positive. Every news episode we do, we have some new battery tech for you. And that's the wonders of this world, and that's why we are not parasites. So please do not quote me on us being parasites. However, so Ram also announced their new car today. It's called the Ram 1500 REV. They call it the first ever light-duty electric truck from the Ram brand. And that can go up to 500 miles on one charge. So that number is also creeping up slowly and steadily. I'm following this one company called Aptera. Their car looks super funky.
Oh, dude, their car looks so cool. With all the solar panels and the 3-wheel and the lightweight. Oh my god. I can't wait for cars to become like that. You remember that Mr. Bean cartoon with that 3-wheeled blue car which kept falling over everywhere?
I was going to say, people go two ways about that car. Some people are like, oh my god, this is so cool. The others are like, oh my god, this looks like an auto rickshaw. Or this looks like a 3-wheeler rickshaw. So, let us know.
Yeah, but the entire build-up of the car is like a go-kart, man. And that's so efficient. It's so aero-efficient because it's just taking away one wheel. And as we know, wheels are like the most inefficient part of the car in terms of aerodynamics. And this has just made it so cool.
It is so efficient that it can go 1,000 kilometers on one charge, and the solar battery might make it such that you will never have to charge it at all, ever.
FYI, 1,000 kilometers on one charge doesn't mean you can drive it at one stretch for 1,000 kilometers. You can keep using it on and off,
No. You can drive it for 1,000 kilometers in one go. That's their battery capacity. Other than that, it can keep charging on a daily basis. I think it was some very small number, 80 kilometers or something a day or something it charges with sunlight, and that might drop to 60. And then we'll know the numbers better once they are commercially available. But
this is all just a prototype right now, FYI. Aptera is not some new car company which is releasing cars. This is all just a prototype.
So cool though. You can pre-book it right now. Don't pre-book it based on our advice, but why not?
I mean, I think it's going to make the most amazing daily driver car ever because you're never going to have to pay for anything. Because your daily drive, as long as it's like under, I would say 50 or 60 kilometers in total, both ways combined. I know mine is, so I can speak for myself. I don't think I'm ever going to have to pay for any energy again because Calcutta already has enough sunlight. So I think the solar will take care of all the charging required.
But there's some fascinating stuff happening in the EV and in the battery segment of the world.
Watch us fawn over EVs and batteries again and again and again, like we do in all our episodes.
And we'll continue to do so. And another place where some very, very interesting stuff is happening is AI. And as you know, we go gaga over AI. So AI might be better at assessing heart health than your doctor.
How many more jobs is AI going to take?
According to Cedar Sinai investigators and their research published on 5th April in the peer-reviewed journal Nature, AI proved superior in assessing and diagnosing cardiac functions when compared with echocardiogram assessments made by a sonographer. Man, this is just very, very fascinating. What this might allow is just so many different things. Your Apple Watch telling you that, yeah, I am better than your doctor, and then your doctor having an ego hit because of that. Just want to live in that world where doctors are not snobs anymore.
So amongst the findings, cardiologists more frequently agreed with the AI's initial assessment and made corrections to only 16.8% of the initial assessments made by the AI. Cardiologists made corrections to 27.2% of the initial assessments made by sonographers. The physicians were unable to tell which assessments were made by AI and which by sonographers. And also, as I think is going to be the norm in everything AI, it was faster.
Jokes aside though, the implications of AI being able to work on medical sciences is, as usual, our keyword. It's phenomenal. And while it is phenomenal, it might help a lot of people have much better lives because of it. AI does make things very much cheaper for a lot of people. Being able to have these tests at home and knowing that they are correct or knowing that they are at par with current sonographers, or in some cases better than a radiologist, considering different machines, then these tests can be held at home, can be done at scale. The test results can be sent directly to a doctor. So much time can be saved and so many lives might be saved because of something like this.
Dude, just the other day, my granddad had some issue with his pacemaker, and they have an app for it, but the app did like whatever reading that it had to do and sent it to the doctor. Now, this was a Saturday, and we were told that we were not going to get any of the results until a Monday. Imagine that, just something which was minor, thankfully, but in case there had been something, we would have had to go to a hospital and they would have to run all the tests and things like that and make sure there was no ups and downs. There was no way for us as a family sitting at home to get readings when we have an app and a data reader in front of us. This is not something that, we were calling somebody to read the data. We are the ones who's sending the data to the hospital. But we're just told that, the doctor will have to review it and you will only know Monday whenever he gets the time.
The use of devices is like...
It felt so pointless. It felt like, all the effort that we'd taken to read the data and get it sent was just useless because there was no... What was the point of it if you're not going to be getting back on it? Like if you have to wait over 36 hours to hear back.
And I think on this front, AI being able to give you like even a little bit of hope or even a little bit of reaffirmations that everything might be fine or there is only this much % chance that there is something wrong. It might, give you a little...
I mean, just something being able to tell you that, okay, everything's okay or there is a cause for concern. Even if there is a cause for concern, at least the person is notified and they can do the required action that, that can address that cause of concern. Here, we didn't even know whether or not there was a cause for concern, whether everything was okay or not. Like, there was no indication whatsoever. There was just blank.
India is still faster on this front. In Canada, because of free healthcare, the healthcare system is pretty burdened right now and has been burdened for a long time now. And because of that, some of these tests, they give you a date of some 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out, 4 weeks out to conduct a test, and then the doctor will get back to you when the doctor gets back to you. But it is some very positive news that AI might be used in something like this and not in something where it's just taking over our world and we are living in a Terminator universe. So hoping we don't get to the Terminator universe fast enough. Another thing that happened last week was Elon Musk and a couple others, they signed a petition asking OpenAI to stop working on GPT-5 for a little bit. Don't work on GPT-5 for 6 months so that the world can catch up a little bit as to what is happening, or it might have very bad consequences. Everybody signed the petition that sent this to OpenAI, and OpenAI was like, yeah, we are not going to stop. Why should they stop, Like Tesla can make automatically driving cars and just launch them, and then nobody does anything. Here, some other companies doing something. So capitalism at its finest is beautiful, and it is happening in AI right now.
Speaking of ChatGPT and OpenAI, Italy became the first country to ban the use of ChatGPT.
So last week, the Italian data protection watchdog ordered OpenAI to temporarily cease processing Italian users' data amid a probe into a suspected breach of Europe's strict privacy regulations.
The regulator, which is known as Garante, cited a data breach at OpenAI which allowed users to view the titles of conversations other users were having with the chatbot.
Garante also flagged worries over a lack of age restrictions on ChatGPT and how the chatbot can serve factually incorrect information in its responses. Marcus Brownlee has this podcast. On his podcast, they discussed how Google has everything to lose and Microsoft has everything to gain with the workings of AI. ChatGPT has just gone full-blown into this, just launched this product, and Bing has gone into just launch this product and it's okay, whatever it writes. However, if Google is holding back and, Bard, as it is, the Google Bard is the ChatGPT competitor, it is not there yet. And it is not there yet probably because Google is the one nerfing it. This will be interesting to follow how other countries respond. Italy has taken the first steps.
I think this just goes back to the need for regulation. We saw this with cryptocurrencies. We see this with everything new. Governments want to regulate things, and obviously regulations are good. But oftentimes regulations have to start with, ban everything. And then we'll see, we'll understand it and then slowly open things up. I remember a conversation you and I were having about drones. And a similar sentiment was echoed where they went, in order to regulate it, they first go ban everything and then they slowly start to ease off on it.
It's always our fears that hold us back from progress. It is also our courage that pushes us into something that might be very dangerous to us. So the line is somewhere in the middle. I don't know where the line is for this. I don't even know, do these regulators really understand how AI works or how these models really work for them to be able to regulate it? In order to put regulations on something, you should know what is good, what is bad. If your child is eating sugar and you have no idea whether sugar is good or bad for you, or some people stop their children from eating protein while they might not know what protein does to your bodies. Might as well educate yourself before you put regulations on any of these things.
The issue is there are so few people in the world who know exactly how this all works that I think governments are taking the precautionary step and being like, prevention is better than cure, so let's ban this whole thing first. Then we'll take our time, understand it, and then open it up as and how time goes by.
The reality of the world is that governments are people. They are just people. A bunch of people to put together in whom we are putting all of our trust and all of our resources, assuming that they would know how to do something better than anybody else would.
Lastly, in environmental news, ice sheets can collapse faster than previously thought possible. A study done by Newcastle University says that ice sheets can retreat up to 600 meters a day during periods of climate warming, 20 times faster than the highest rate of retreat previously measured. An international team of researchers used high-resolution imagery on the sea floor to reveal just how quickly a former ice sheet that extended from Norway retreated at the end of the last ice age about 20,000 years ago.
I feel like OPEC should cite this research that this is why we cut oil production and not because of our capitalistic motives.
That would do well in their publicity ratings.
It will give it a boost for sure. But yes, this is cause for concern. It is always a cause for concern. Global warming is real. Just because you have ice outside your house does not mean there's no global warming. It is as real as it gets, and every day we are given a reminder of it might be worse than we really think it is. Hopefully everybody gets informed about global warming and we can take some nice steps in our future.
I think awareness is key.
Hopefully the batteries we talked about today can come into cars fairly quickly, make it a better world. Hopefully AI we spoke about being better than sonographers can fix some of you having to go to a sonographer and save some carbon there. And hopefully all of it comes together and our podcast can save the world and cause the ice sheet to not melt as fast as they do. So do check us out. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on Spotify. Your subscribes help a lot. Your likes help a lot. It pushes us to more viewers outside just our local community.
Guys, get in the comments. Get in the comments. Let's have conversations. There's a lot of you who message us privately. let's have these conversations on YouTube, on Instagram. Let's get others involved, open up the discussion. The more the merrier.
So to all of our Bistronauts, see you all next time.
So we shall see you soon with all things crypto. Till then, goodbye.
Thanks for joining us. We hope to continue to bring you some interesting news from around the world and keep you informed and keep you entertained, and hope to see you again next time. Thank you.